our major banks and our main insurance companies all operate in the Caribbean. And therefore, whatever economic problems the Caribbean faces, it would impact the operations of our financial institutions. In particular, whenever there's a debt restructuring in the Caribbean region, our banks take a hit on their profit positions and our insurance companies take a hit on their capital. Over the last decade, we've had 11 debt restructuring episodes in the Caribbean, and that has had a severe impact on the financial positions of our banks and insurance companies. So it's incumbent on us to find a meaningful solution to get the Caribbean out of this high debt issue. At the same time, the low growth is a challenge for our manufacturers because our second largest market is the Caribbean for our manufacturing sector, and therefore if we could get the Caribbean back onto a more sustainable growth path, then it means our manufacturers would be able to export more, we'd be able to generate more foreign exchange, and we would help in the economic diversification process. What has happened over the last 2 decades or so is that the Caribbean's traditional reliance on what we call aid from the industrialized countries, that reliance has actually fallen significantly. Aid flows have almost dwindled. And we've seen the Caribbean has had to find new sources of financing, and they've now had to rely on borrowing from governments, and that is what we call bilateral debt. They've borrowed from the private sector, so that has led to a buildup of commercial debt at extremely high rates of interest. And they've also borrowed from the multilateral institutions like the IMF, like the World Bank, CDB, IDB. And so the debt itself, the composition of the debt, reflects the different sources of borrowing. And the debt has now reached a point where it's extremely high in relation to the size of the Caribbean economies and extremely high in relation to the ability to service that debt out of current revenues. Essentially, we need to find new and innovative solutions. Doing things the same way will not yield the type of results that we want, and therefore we have to think really, it is cliche outside of the box, but we have to do this if the Caribbean is to survive in the, I would say, over the next decade or so.